And welcome back to the stream. And in this one, we're going to play a second of our alternate courses. If you're still with us on Twitch, just following straight in from the previous one, where we played our first alternate course. And if you're on YouTube, then you'll see this separately, and it's a whole new video. Because I didn't say at the start of the last one, I'm going to be playing these courses with a fairly critical eye. If you've joined a contest, kind of feel that's what you're after. So obviously I will find things that I praise and that I really like, but I will go out of my way to try to find things that I think we could be doing a little bit neater or tidying up. So that's basically what we're going to be going for. Now, this one, everyone's filled out a form, or will fill out a form eventually. So we're looking for black teas, correct. Nothing either medium or fast for green speeds. I'm just going to go default. Everything else is default, fine. Any key design features. Club selection of the tee varies depending on wind and angle into the greens and what pin it is. Interesting. A lot of greens have tiers. Okay. So position on the fairway is always something the golfer needs to think about. I would query this because, well, we'll be interested to see what this comes out with. But for me, tiers doesn't necessarily... Tiers and angles almost always are kind of go against each other. There are some Rainer courses that do it really nicely, but generally tiers are like just chuck one on the green and call it a day. Any real life inspirations? Not really. I just wanted to make something near the ocean. Good on you. We like those sorts of things. So let's play. Let's go. No, we'll stick with pin 3. Stick with everything as is. We've gone default, etc. Here we go. Now, I can't remember Course Design's actual name, and that's no problem. But I'm sure I know it. But I played one of his courses relatively recently because he wasn't sure, well, a couple of months ago, because he wasn't sure why it was. Owen, thank you, you two. He wasn't sure why it got on Tourworthy, and he had it done like a Pinehurst sort of thing that he clearly spent a ton of time on, but it was just super narrow and penal. And that was kind of the main reason. And also he'd route it all over the place. So it's great to see that this one is tighter together. You've got the tree-lined areas, which work nicely for separating holes, and then we've got these more open areas. I like this. And we've gone for... So delta, so we get a lot of that kind of burned out texture. The texture choices are great. These always work pretty nicely. Just zoom around a little bit. Okay, so you've got a kind of secluded woodland style. Use of the new trees is nice. Oh, where are we? Let's try and go back this way. We'll find our way to the coast. Oh, yeah. So I really like the amount of trees you've used, which means that when we do hit the coast, it really opens up. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of the dead trees. I think it would just generally look better if you lost them, or like the odd cypress here or there, but we can touch on that later. We've got another course with nice low sunlight. Green perched all the way down there, like the look of that. A trawler, because we have to have a trawler, definitely. Yep, we've done the things that I would expect, which is try and chuck the greens on the ocean, which is good. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And all that. Cool. Like this. Okay. Well, let's leap in and try and find a little man. Probably somewhere up here next to the giant castle that is presumably our clubhouse. And we've got one car. I appreciate this. One car in the car park. Yes. Where the hell are we? Oh, he's just in shadow. It's fine. Oh, look, there's a clock. Huh. Small world. Okay. Now, the first thing that strikes me is these trees are really pretty big, and I like that in this case, because they're consistently so. We've got the 3 bunkers around the side of the fairway. No, it may not. No cars in car parks will not lose you points in judging this year. Now, one thing I think was kind of true of the previous course, which was one that was approved. I think this one's gotten tour-worthy, which, as it should. Oh, have we run out of battery? That's going to be annoying. So one kind of part reason for that was also just plug this in. Bloody amateur hour. There we go. Okay. One thing we want to be sure on is like, why would I not hit driver? Or like, yes, there's some bunkers up here that I might reach. But in reality, that landing zone is about as wide as 3 wood. Like, yeah, I know, right? So I'd probably allow, the further you lay back, let's have a slightly wider fairway, or like fewer bunkers in the landing zone. Yes, there are bunkers up there, and they're pretty nicely sculpted and they work well. But just try not to see the like dead straight pencil Torrey pine sort of fairways. Sightline's good. Sightline's really good. Okay, and the camber does take us round. What leaps out to me? It is charging, and it is also connected still. Stupid game. This is going to end pretty quickly if this is the case. Over there. One thing I'd probably suggest is your planting is a touch monotone. Like, could we, and I suspect multi-plant, but I'm not sure. One of the things I would do is blend in a couple of different grasses or a couple of different bushes. Like the trees, you've got different species. Let's bring that in with the other stuff as well, just because it will bring a little bit more variety. You can occasionally do courses with just like 1 or 2 items, but it requires a lot of skill. I do like that if we play this way, we're a little bit more blind, but then I don't know if that necessarily fits with bunkers on this side, because if you challenge them, then you're blind. If you play away from them, you're not. Yupa? Yeah, Yupa was one. Although there are those who didn't love how that was planted. I'm a fan, but okay, we definitely have a tier, but we have a backstop. The thing with the tier is it can make it a touch of a one-dimensional green. Either you're on that tier and you've got a putt for birdie, or you're not and you're just lag putting. And that's I think they can work nicely for that as a challenge, but I wouldn't want to overuse them. So when you mentioned that at the start, I'm a little wary. But good first hole, good looking second hole. Okay, definitely ramping up the pressure on the tee shot, and it's a long hole. Now, I would feel more comfortable hitting 3 wood here, but with this being such a long hole, I do like the sculpting up by the green. This green sits really nicely, and the bunkers around it are really good as well. I feel like the tiered nature of the greens is going to hurt us generally more than it helps, but I really like the way this hole looks. Oh, come on, cling on. Nope. Let's go find that bunker. That's all right. And also really like that you've shown restraint with the trees. Like there's just a little cluster here, and that works really nicely. They're quite tall, but again, that's working well. No. By all means, offer. Like, you know how this works. You like point out stuff you like and dislike as well. Right. End of the day, I think, whilst I think my opinion is pretty good, it's not the only one that matters. And I totally agree. I think that hole looked really, really good. Like the spacing, you could tell just by the flying around at the start. There's parts of this where it works really nicely. The one risk we had with the lighting you went with and the tree sizes you went with was always going to be the shadows. And that has hurt this hole and all of this, which is a shame. I think my main critique is really going to be the greens, and I know it's something you were going for because you've mentioned it in the write-up, which makes it useful to give feedback on, because I think it's more just tiers can work really well as a change-up. But really what this is doing is just making me be precise. It's quite penal. There's no, like, you could get it to the hole this way or you could do it this way. It's your main, yeah, probably. I like these bunkers. They work really nicely. I mean, the way you've benched this into the land and it's all just gently sloping down here works really well. Oh, Axel had fun at Pinehurst, didn't he? There's loads good about this. I just think I would like the greens to be a little less one-dimensional. Through 3 holes, they've kind of basically done the same thing. I enjoyed Pinehurst. And that's the thing, if you hit the right tier, then you're going to have a pretty good shot. Again, like, really nice look. I don't love the castle. I'm sorry, I've never loved that clubhouse building. Yeah, it's kind of the same green, isn't it? It's just where we're moving the pin around to. And I think this hole maybe feels a touch empty out this way. I think it's partly because the bunkers are really small and it's quite far away. But it just looks like there's a lot of space that this one is trying to eat up. With holes like this, if you look at what someone like Matt does really nicely, so Matt F, he will use his surfaces and make them really, really big. So his bunker sizes are bigger than you would expect. Same with the fairway sizes. And that can kind of save you on the planting. Or alternatively, you could have brought the planting, like the bushes in down here a little bit more. I think it's really just like, let's push the fairway out a little bit. Let's make these bunkers go up the hill a little bit more. Everything a bit bigger would really help this hole. But I don't dislike the hole itself. I think so far, so really solid. Like, that's a good view. The openness you've left is a real positive, for sure. The planting itself looks good. I think you could probably be doing a bit more with the variety with the planting, but we'll take this. Okay. Up here, we're definitely noticing a lot of blank, like, emptiness. So, like, as you can see, we can see that from here. If this is the case, and you've got your lighting going this way, just plant loads of trees, make a wall, like sink some trees behind it, just hide this, because that's going to grab people's attention pretty quickly. Okay, so we could carry these two. Again, these bunkers feel really small. And I think partly that's because we talked about at the start how tall your trees are. You probably want, like, if your environment is this grand and imposing, you need the surfaces to do that as well, really. There's our fast. That's okay. On a par 5 is fine. And I really like the size of... why have we split this? Oh, yeah, I don't know if the split really helps here. Because if you are... Okay, the reason I don't know the split works, I don't really mind the split in and of itself. However, when you chuck this bunker here and this mound here, the green itself is interesting. This has, like, it's not quite the same, but early RJ Wills vibes in that you've got that low running sort of tier behind this mound. Like, that's the sort of thing he would have done. Now, problem is, if I am clearing this, and if it is a challenge to clear this, I have to be here, and even then I'm going to hit that bunker. Or I have to be here and hope I'm short of the bunker. Or I have to go here and kind of run round right of the bunker. And I get that it's a risky shot, but I just don't really feel there's that much. Like, either I'm going for the green, bear in mind I hit a rubbish drive, going for the green and trying to land it through, but if not, then what? Is always the question with par 5. So you've got to encourage a person to lay up. Now, laying back to here feels very, very penal. And like, pretty harsh. I don't want to do that. We're going to take 8. Oh, that's the controller being too far away from the PC. That's okay. Should have charged it beforehand. There we go. Oh, now we're going to run down to the low tier. Boo. And indeed off. Nope. But I like all of those things in isolation. It's just, cutting that fairway off there, plus this green shape, it's those things together. I would probably tweak a little bit. Oh, that's not enough. This is going badly. Oh, had hope for just a second. I deserve to drop a shot there. Don't you dare stop charging, controller. Okay, this is the other issue with the lighting you've got. You cannot go dead into it. Because you just can't see any of the hole. It's a shame, because in the old games this would have looked pretty good. In this game it's just you must avoid this. Find a different lighting direction, or just alternate, move the tee. Like there have been Huntington Sound was a good example. I got to the 8th hole, built that on stream, and then went around and found a different lighting direction purely because that hole looked horrible compared to everything else I'd built. Like, it can be that destructive. Yeah, it's a shame because it's a solid enough par 3, and I like the way you use that tier as more of a side one as well. Like, that works. It's just hard to comment much when it's all... I think the lighting's really hurt you on this. I'm also kind of getting bored of the greens, I'm afraid. They're just... This one does at least prompt us a challenge of, like, do we want a pitch shot? Like, I have to think, do I want a pitch shot? Do I want to lay way back? Those two bunkers on the left feel a bit... Generally, you would do better to be trying to work your fairway around the bunkers a bit more. So imagine if your fairway went here and then the bunker digs in and then over there. Then I'm more likely to take it on because I can play close to the bunker for a gain. Whereas here it's just... I think a lot of the design screams penal architecture, where you're laying down a fairway and then putting the bunkers down rather than strategic, which is, where do I want to encourage a player to go? Put a bunker near there, give them fairway so that if they challenge that and take it on, they get that good reward. I'd really urge you to do the latter a bit more. I don't dislike the hole at all, but I just feel like I've played this green it's the 7th time I've played this green is what it feels like. I know it isn't, they have been slightly different, but you can overdo the concept for sure. It's fun to have the backstop, certainly. Right, par 5. I think, again, given the grandeur of the setting, make those bunkers bigger, but sightline here is great. Love the tree line on the left. I don't know if we need the cypress trees underneath. That looks a little... Yeah, I do like the trees. What's the green looking like? Yeah, your more kind of side-on greens are definitely more interesting. And I can see how for a pin on the right-hand side, I'd probably want to go right. For a pin on the left-hand side, going left is probably ever so slightly advantageous. Let's hit somewhere down here. Perfect. They do. Yeah, because they kind of provide backstops and... Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah. Well, that's... Yeah, agreed. That's not a good swing. Dreadful putt, but that's okay. It was a little bit challenging. I think also there's... That's an awful putt line. There's different ways to do challenge on the green than just chuck a tier on it. And it will add more interest. I love the green sight and the setting. The tee shot Feels a little claustrophobic, perhaps. Favourite hole from Matty. I mean, the green side looks great. I do like the way you see the trees going all the way out and it's kind of leading your eye around. I might remove some of these, or alternatively work the fairway out a little bit more and bring the trees this way. Just feels they're a bit close to that fairway edge, but I don't know. It's hard to explain. Oh, we got a light rough this time. I definitely like... Ah, yeah, I see why you like it. It's because it's not really a tiered hole. Because you've got this sort of back punch bolt in the front area, and again, like the previous course where we had one, where you were encouraging us to run down but not run off. Like, that's interesting. Then we've got those bunkers which are protecting us going directly at these pins, but we could use the slope to run down it, or we've got a backstop to get hit. Like, by not just doing the standard 2-tier, 3-tiered thing, look how much more interest you've got by how we can get to certain holes. And like, you can run the ball in off the land on this side. Yeah, I'm with Matty. This is the best hole so far by a considerable distance. I'm going to try and land it short. Sit now. Ah, not quite. Ground game is indeed very fun, which is, yeah, agreed. Just not enough. Cool. So we're now coming out to the coast, which through 9 about the right sort of time. You can definitely tell it's your first time doing a coastal course. Yeah. Like, you just need to practice how you do coastline. I think you've taken the wrong brush and you've done it too quickly. There's ways to do this. It just takes practice, really. As far as the hole goes, it exists. It's a nice green site, but I'm really just hitting driver at a tiered green, which we could have done anywhere else on the course, and indeed have. I'd kind of like to see this, like, you've got a really good green site just kind of here. Could you have us hit an interesting shot hanging over the coastline, or bring the coast into play, or anything really? I'm never laying up on this one because you put a bunker in the way anyway, and I'm never laying up back to there. I'm always going to hit driver at the screen. This one's just a little bit of a missed opportunity. Like, if you are using coast and you just say it was your first time using it, like, let's try and again put a really good idea on these holes, rather than this hole could have just been anywhere on the plot. Like, the coastal setting hasn't come into play at all. You could have put that high up in the trees and it would have had the same effect. It just kind of, I'm not going to say wasted a good bit of land, but it certainly hasn't made the most of it. Oh, now I like that we're doglegging and sweeping a little bit more. But it's a very similar hole to the previous one. Because we're doing just the same, we're just doing the same thing. It's just a little bit longer. And it's the same green. Yeah, got my partial chip a little wrong. I would be curious to know, with the holes that you did, how many times you ripped up something and just did a different idea. Because I feel like if you're playing through, there's got to be a point at which you go, that hole and that hole are really similar, at which point you've got to think, what could I have done differently? So to prompt some thoughts. Well, what about if we spun this green round and made it basically angled or narrow, or could we make it really small? Could we make one of them bigger and have funkier contours? Could we maybe not use a back tier? Could we chuck it directly behind the bunkers? Could we make the hole longer? Could we incentivize you to play here? Could we make the green run front to back? Could we move the tees out somewhere different? Could we play something like, could we totally reroute and go, let's just have a hole going down here? Because there's all this land you haven't used, and that's a little odd. But I think the moment you find yourself doing exactly the same thing back to back, that's got to be a warning light of just going, nope, blow it up, do something different. And I know blowing stuff up it takes courage, and it also kind of means admitting that you didn't get it right first time, but that's fine. I can't tell you a single course I've ever made where I haven't blown up something, or I haven't had one hole that I've fought and done 2 or 3 different iterations, if not more. Like my best courses typically have blown up one hole 6, 7 times. I like this par 3 though. This one's better. And again, it doesn't really rely on the tier thing. Those are your best holes. It also makes use of the coast more. And the coastline is sculpted a little bit better. And yeah, or you're like Matty and you really suck. But like, do blow up holes and just go, right, let's try something different. And you can always exit without saving. Because it might just be that 3rd or 4th idea is just like, oh, that's the one we were looking for. And suddenly you inch closer to 18 really good holes. Anyone can make a course with 18 solid holes. It's like the quest for 18 that are as good as possible. I like that hole a lot. That was a really nice par 3 that sat really well in the land. It was just the obvious hole to have there, and it made a ton of sense. Oh, I like this one. See, this is good. This is what the other coastal par 4 needed, where it's just a little bit more like you've got something to latch onto, because that green side's really interesting. The tee shot, yeah, I'd probably want to see a bit more fairway out here or wrap. I don't know. I think it's posing a challenge, and I like that. Actually, tee shot I'm okay with. So you're going to hit 3 wood. I think if you hit driver there, you're nuts. And then we've got, yeah, this is a great hole. Really like this one. And I really like these 2 bunkers. They frame very nicely. Hey, Sleepy. We are doing alternates for World Cup, of which we only have 3 published so far, but the 3rd person hasn't filled in the form yet. So I'll probably just do the 2 tonight. I think after the previous one, that's after the 9th, I think this is my 2nd favourite hole on the course so far. Again, it helps that it doesn't really rely on a tier. I'll go on, tried its best. Because this one's more dealing with the spine, and that's got some interest to it as well. Okay. Playing up the other way. I think I would mound this up a little more, but I like what we're going for. I really like the look of the green side up ahead. I dislike the triple tiers, but I think, and I wish the green was a bit wider, but the green side, looking from here, I think you've put it in just the right place. It's just kind of the same stuff as we've been talking about before. Good decision also to go with a par 5 for your kind of uphill transition hole. And actually, you've managed that elevation change really nicely. And this, because this doesn't look much uphill, but it's done really well. I think the trio of bunkers is great. I would just bring your green a bit wider, not do the tiers, maybe tuck this one in a little bit tighter. Right, allow us to run it on, but like, this is really close. Oh, it's got a slow, which means we're in a bunker. And bunker sculpting is pretty good. Like, I like, you can see how you bumped them up at the back to give like a little bit more interesting definition and how that's running out. Like, that works well. Lots are good. I still maintain that the dead trees don't think they make a ton of sense. And I would have liked to have used the land for golf, but yeah, I would also, we're just going to leap out of this one for a sec. So you've got 2 really big environments with this one. Now, when you transitioned out to the coastline on 9, as Matty said, you kind of went through the trees and you gradually made your way out to the coast, and you saw the coast at the end. And so that gently transitioned us from one environment to the other. Look at what we've done here. We finished and hold out our part, and straight away we are, where are we? Oh, we've gone way back. Okay, we've done a routing weird thing anyway, but I mean, it's fine, it's not a big issue. I think what I'd want to be happening here would be clear out some of the trees on this side so it's still a bit open, and then have the trees around the green, so that way you're transitioning into the wooded environment. You'd want to hit to a green that is in the trees, and then you're there. Whereas we've just hit to an open green and then suddenly here we are. Sleepy, I'm probably not going to be able to just because it's 5 to 10 already and I am shattered, but I will definitely get you some feedback. Also, I think we've been burying trees and that's causing some burning underneath. Is that why it looks all dark? I do like the par 3 itself, just not a massive fan of the frontier and the lighting stuff again, as discussed. Routing wise, maybe feels a little funky to just be looking over the stupid British people thing. Yeah. Given that we just played this green into this way, it feels weird to walk back kind of 150 yards to play to another 50 yards further, but it's a minor thing. All of the holes have been really solid, I would say. Okay, we've done a sideways green, which I like. I feel like the green itself probably is fighting the land just a touch, kind of because you wanted that tier on it. And if you're using a tier, the high part of all the land is coming from that way, which is why you're struggling to sculpt this one just a touch more. At least that's the look I'm getting from the land. Cheers, Andre. Yes, that's it. Correct. Yeah, it's not my favourite. Also, hi. Hello. We've got 2 holes left. It was nice to see you. Alrighty. 17. Again, like, around the hole looks really nice. I think the bunkers are a little bit small. Similar to the previous par 3, I want to say, like, was it 4 or 5 we talked about this with? I make the bunkers a bit bigger to match the stuff around. We even gave an Andre reference earlier to your planting. It's quite nice. A positive one, no less. And we also gave a reference to your hole signs because someone else has been doing this. We can blame Teach for that. Really like planting up here, like the way you spaced out the bushes, like all of this, like big picture planting stuff looks great. Just surfacing, tidy that up just a touch. Yeah, I know. No, there's another course with hole signs. Hole signs are not great. You suck. But yeah, like kind of similar things with the tiers. We've had 18 holes of them now, and it kind of wears off after a little while. Love that view back out to the coast. I like that you minimised the number of trees you've got out there. That definitely helps. Please do. It's been too long. You should do, what would be really good would be like a video series on how long does it take you to make a course. I feel like people would go nuts for that. Okay, and now we're on 18. We're heading back into here. I like that you've got these kind of skyline sort of bunkers up here. Another winter theme. Yeah, how long does it take me to make a winter course? It's something like that, isn't it? I would probably like to see you do something just a little different with this green site. with the bunkers you've got, I'm really wanting to see just a green that's tucked over these two, and then this one's way in front as like the little framing bunker. I think if you took the whole green and moved it back 15, 20 yards or so, and back this way, a bit more of a circular shape, that would help. But I like, again, that you've given us a way to get to these pins. That back there, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, it might. They've added some stuff. There's a fish and chip shop now. We saw that earlier as well. Go on. Oh, it just stopped turning. I like the little peak at the ocean from through there as well. Oh, it's not quite as good as around the previous one. So there we go. That is Tawari Toro by coursedesignhq, one of our alternates. So yeah, there's loads of stuff I really like. As I think Matty hit the nail on the head in that the big picture framing, really, really good. Lots of really nice green sites as well. I thought you did that nicely. And actually, a load of really solid sculpting and planting. Like, there's a lot of good stuff on this course. Things that I would work on. Look up everything you can on strategic design rather than... And this is how I got started, how loads of us did. You originally just put down, you think the fairway goes first and you scatter the bunkers around it. That's how we all start. The more you get into the concept that the bunkers are placed where you want the player to go and work the fairways around them, the better your golf holes will become. Secondly, other things that kind of there's a little bit of scaling stuff. So like the trees being giant will make your other surfaces go with that. And if you're going with giant trees, not super low lighting, because that causes real issues. Andre can tell you about that. Additionally, the major thing, as you'll have seen throughout the video as well, is the green sculpting. And like, I get that you were going for tiers from the off. Hopefully, this video kind of shows you those can be really, really good. But if you overuse, this is true of everything. If you overuse one feature too much, well, if you overuse one feature, it really loses its effectiveness and becomes a negative. Like, variety is what we're really looking for. And like, don't be afraid to just go for simple done well. But simply chucking a tier on a green and having a back tier and a front tier, that will get old pretty quickly. And it would be really frustrating to play in real life as well. Oh, I didn't make the tier. I was 2-putt from down here and oh no, it's come back down to my feet. That sort of thing. That said, there are a lot of really interesting holes. Hole 9, I agree, was the standout. But yeah, that's it. That's all we've got for tonight. Now, I'm probably going to do, if we get another alternate publishing, I'll do another one at some point this week. Otherwise, the window opens on July the 1st. We're away at a wedding that night, so it's going to be not that night, not the following night. Somewhere around the 3rd or the 4th, I'll do something. And we'll stream then. But until then, lovely to see you all. And we'll see you again soon.